do want you to ask questions using the chat frames as we go along, and these will be answered by one of our grants gurus participating in this call at the end of the presentation. So welcome to all of you. And the first thing we're going to do is have a short overview. The Rotary Foundation offers grants that support a wide variety of projects, scholarships, and training that Rotarians do around the world. Two types of grants are available: district grants and global grants. The one combined project district block grant and all global grant applications are submitted online at myrotary.org under the Rotary Foundation tab and Grants Central. So let's start with the basic question. Where do the district designated funds, or DDF, for district grants and global grants actually come from? Contributions from Rotarians and Friends of Rotary fund the Rotary Foundation grants and programs. Only when donors designate annual fund share for their gifts do they enter the share system. Donors designating their gifts for endowment fund share have their spendable earnings enter the share system. Gifts to the Polio Plus Fund are rightly used 100% for the eradication of polio. So once these funds are in the share system divides the funds between the World Fund and District Designated Fund. All the funds are used for Rotary grants and activities that do good in the world. The trustees decide how the World Fund is spent, and our District Rotary Foundation Committee decides how its district designated funds are spent. And I'll give you a different view for those of you who see things vertically instead of horizontally. So year one, contributions are made to the Annual Programs Fund, marking share. Years 2 and 3, the funds are invested for those 3 years. Then year 3, after that 3rd year, it's split between the DDF and the World Fund. 50% going to DDF, which is what we use for our global grants and our district grants, which includes scholarships and vocational training teams. And the other 50% goes to the World Fund, which is what's used for the match for the global grants, for scholarships, vocational training teams, and anything else the trustees decide. So what is the difference between a district grant and a global grant? Because of the huge volume of small grants being submitted to the Rotary Foundation, there's nothing quite like success. The new grant model was instituted in 2013, which increased the minimum project cost for a global grant to $30,000. At this same time, they allowed districts to apply for a district block grant, which is administered by the district, and it can be used for smaller grants. How are they funded? And as you see, for district grant, there's no maximum or minimum unless it's established by our district. The global grant is funded through the World Fund, through district designated funds, and through cash. The district grant is only funded through DDF and club cash. The application for the global grant is made online at rotary.org. The district grant, the clubs will be filling out an application which you find at rotary-d5000.org. The global grant has to use one of the 6 areas of focus. It has to have a partnership of host and international clubs. It has a sustainability that has to be verified, and it has to be measured. As you notice, both global grants and district grants can fund scholarships. Global grants are for graduate and postgraduate work, and district grants can be used for any level of study. So let's talk first about district grants. District grants fund small-scale, short-term activities that address needs in your community and communities abroad. Each district chooses which activities it will fund with these grants. We can use district grants to fund a variety of club and district projects and activities, including scholarships and vocational training. You have a lot of freedom to customize your service projects. There aren't many restrictions as long as your district grant supports the mission of the Rotary Foundation, which is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. Districts must be qualified before they can administer district grants. Clubs must be qualified before they can receive district grant funds. Districts can use up to 50% of their district designated fund to receive 1 district grant annually. This percentage is calculated based on the amount of district designated funds generated from a district's annual fund giving 3 years prior, including endowment fund earnings. So make sure you mark share on every donation to the annual programs fund and to the endowment fund. Then you will have control over the funds when they come back to be used. Districts receive this funding as a lump sum, and then we distribute it to our clubs. Every year, the District 5000 Rotary Foundation Committee meets to decide how the district designated funds will be allocated. This year, the committee decided once again to request the full 50% of DDF to be allocated to our district grant. These funds are then reallocated to the clubs based on the average of the club contributions to the Rotary Foundation through share for the past 3 years. A spreadsheet with these allocations can be found on the D5000 website under the Rotary Foundation tab. District grants are the easiest way to fund local and international projects under $30,000, which can be completed within the Rotary year. Rotarians in District 5000 submitted 113 separate district grant requests in 2018-19, utilizing $116,736 in district designated funds. If you add in the club and other cash for these projects, we had an impact of almost $250,000 right here in our local communities. 24 clubs chose either dictionary or other book projects for schools as a way to use these district grants. Look at the faces on those kids. But don't forget that district grants can also be utilized for international projects as well. The critical factor to remember is that they must be completed and reported within the Rotary year. And that includes submitting invoices that match expenditures. One thing to remember for international projects is that Rotary International absorbs the currency exchange differences for global grants. District grants don't have this mechanism. So be prepared when you're doing your conversion from baht or pesos or whatever to dollars, that you may either have to allocate a few more club dollars if it's unfavorable, or add something else within the project to spend extra money on if the rate is favorable. The district grant is reported to the Rotary Foundation in dollars, and all the DDF has to be spent or returned. So please, don't wait until the last minute to determine this. And while district grants don't require a Rotary Club as a partner, please make sure you're working with someone you trust, because invoices of expenditures are critical. And if you have any questions on district grants, now's the time to put them into the chat box and we'll address them at the end. And now we'll move on to global grants. So global grants support large international activities with sustainable, measurable outcomes in Rotary's areas of focus. These activities can include humanitarian projects, graduate level scholarships, and vocational training teams. A key feature of global grants is partnership between the club or district where the activity will occur and a club or district in another country. The global grant can go either way. We are trying to get one done out on the North Shore with Pearl Haven for the Human Trafficking Project. Both sponsors on the grant must qualify before they submit an application. And all reports for previous projects must be up to date. The minimum budget for a global grant is $30,000. The Foundation's World Fund provides a minimum of $15,000 and a maximum of $200,000 for global grants. Clubs and districts contribute district designated funds and cash contribution that the World Fund matches. So DDF is matched 100% by the Rotary Foundation, a one-to-one match. And cash is matched at 50%. So if you stop and think about it, when you put in your dollar from the club and you get your dollar of district designated funds, and the Rotary Foundation will then match that with another $1.50. So it adds up and multiplies really quickly. There is no club in District 5000 who does not have the ability to initiate a global grant. So global grants for a humanitarian project or a vocational training team require a club or district to conduct a community assessment. This is an absolute requirement. You have to include this global grants community assessment results form with your grant application. Otherwise, as Mark will tell you, it will just get sent back. So we mentioned that the global grant must support at least one of Rotary's 6 areas of focus, which reflect critical humanitarian needs that Rotarians are addressing worldwide. You know what they are. peace and conflict prevention and resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. When Foundation trustee Brenda Cressy was here, she told us that she's part of a working group to reevaluate these. So stay tuned, things may be changing. So sustainability has different meanings for different groups. For Rotary, sustainability means providing long-term solutions to community needs that the beneficiaries can maintain after grant funding ends. Global grant funding is an investment in lasting change. Sustainable projects can take many forms, but all contain these elements. First is community participation. Work with community members to identify a need and develop a solution that builds on community strengths and aligns with local values and culture. Rotary has a key resource, the Community Assessment Tool, that will help you assess your community. Report your results on the Global Grants Community Assessment Results Form and include it with your grant application. Next is local ownership. Identify community members who can help pioneer lasting improvements. Third is training. A project's success depends on people. Provide training, education, and community outreach to strengthen beneficiaries' ability to meet project goals. Next, buy local. Purchase equipment and technology from local sources wherever possible. This supports the local economy and helps ensure that spare parts are available locally too. Get local funding. Get funding from local governments, from hospitals, companies, and other groups to integrate your project into the local community and support your project's long-term success. And measure your success. This is vital. Develop clear, measurable project outcomes and decide how you will collect your data. So an example of some humanitarian projects that we've done in District 5000. With over 20 clubs participating, Rotarians in District 5000 provided life-changing medical procedures to those who needed them in Thailand and in New Delhi. We also had a very, very successful vocational training team, which is ongoing. This vocational training team global grant, which was first initiated in 2013, has involved most of the clubs in District 5000 at one time or another, and has provided needed surgeries, and most importantly, ongoing training for local surgeons to establish a Center for Excellence in Craniofacial Surgery serving Eastern Europe. And we have global grants that are sponsoring scholarships. Our most recent global scholar, I believe, was Ariel Stenek. With the assistance of Rotary, Ariel received her master's degree in international relations in Paris. She is now employed in Honolulu by a nonprofit Indo-Pacific think tank, which has been in business here for 44 years, and is a research institute on foreign policy. This is a young woman who's going to make a difference in the world. And she is available if you'd like to ask her to come and speak at your club. So district grants and global grants. To qualify for any grant, both the district and each club must understand their stewardship responsibilities and complete the qualification process. So what is stewardship? Proper stewardship is the responsibility of each Rotarian. Implementing good stewardship practices ensures that grants are well managed and that grant funds are used according to foundation guidelines and benefit the populations in need. This stewardship by Rotarians is why Charity Navigator has given the Rotary Foundation its highest 5-star rating for over 10 years. Careful grant management sustains donor confidence in the foundation and can actually lead to increased donations, as well as some incredible partnerships like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So what are these stewardship practices? Stewardship includes project supervision by Rotarians who are actively involved in the project and who ensure that participants follow grant terms and conditions. We promise that we will be implementing projects as approved by the foundation or having the foundation approve any changes. This holds true for both district grants and global grants. So please, for your district grants particularly, what you say you're going to do when you apply for your grant is what you need to do when you fill in your final report. If something changes in the meantime, you need to please notify either District Grant Coordinator Gloria King or your DRFCC Laura, and we will get approval from the Rotary Foundation to reallocate your funds. We also promise that we will report any irregularities to the district so that stewardship issues can be properly investigated and resolved. Past District Governor Phil Sammer is our foundation ombudsman. With his experience in foundation, he is the person who can help you if you feel that there is something that is not right. You also have to submit timely, complete, and accurate reports to the district and to the Rotary Foundation to verify how funds were spent, complete with copies of invoices. And we ask that you retain appropriate documents for a minimum of 5 years after completion of the project. So the foundation grant financial requirements. Disbursement requirements for both district grants, particularly in around here, and also for global grants if you are managing the funds. You do not disperse the funds until your grant application is approved and the funds are received and deposited in your separate grants account. You must maintain separate grant bank accounts. 2 signatures are required for disbursements, either on the check or on an approval form which is tied to the check. And invoices and proof of payment are required for all disbursements. So for your district grants, Please, proof of expenditures, promptly deliver any receipts for expenditures to the club treasurer. And if there's a difference between the receipt and the invoice, you have to show the documentation to the treasurer so that it's explained. You have to retain account records in physical form and electronic form for 5 years from the date of approval of the final report. And the district grant account and each global grant account, if you have one, will be reconciled on a monthly basis by the club treasurer, and a report of this will be made to the club president and president-elect. Now, clubs are only required to maintain a global grant account if you're responsible for management of the funds. This is usually the role of the international partner. But for example, when the Pearl Haven project on the North Shore is ready to move forward, the club submitting the global grant and administering the funds will have a separate global grant account for that, in addition to their separate district grants account. Club commitments to a global grant are usually sent directly to the Rotary Foundation after the global grant has final approval. Although some clubs are utilizing the D5000 Foundation to initially gather these club commitments before they're all sent in to the Rotary Foundation at one time. It's critical that each club track the commitments that have been made to a global grant, because it will frequently be the next Rotary year before final approval is received from the Rotary Foundation. The global grant number has to be on both the contribution form and the check for it to get applied correctly. The district is also required to conduct an audit of grant records as part of our stewardship responsibilities. Past District Governor Ron Young is currently head of the audit team. And Naomi has put together for the treasurers a list of what the audit team will be looking for when they come in to audit your documents for your grants. And this is mostly for your district grants. So you have to have the grant report, which shows the revenues and disbursements for the project, bank statements, canceled checks, bank signature cards, check registers, invoices and receipts to support disbursements, and bank reconciliations. A list of physical assets required for grant projects, if any. I can tell you that I've never found a time when we actually had those, although if we do any global grants locally, then we may run into that. But for your district grants, you don't retain ownership of any physical assets. And then a report to the district of any misuse of funds if you hear of something that is wrong. This is critical. And then just so you don't panic, another reason that's great that we have a separate district grant account is the fact that the audit team will only review that account. The review is limited only to the transactions regarding the grant. It doesn't include any other operations or bank accounts of the club. That's what the district does to maintain stewardship for the grants. The Rotary Foundation manages the grants funds through report tracking, routine monitoring, investigating allegations. They hold stewardship seminars, which we will let everyone know, the next one that's coming up, and by providing qualification. The first qualification is for the district. The district must qualify to receive grant funding from the Rotary Foundation. Online qualification helps ensure that the leaders in the district governor, the district governor-elect, and the district Rotary Foundation Committee chair understand the financial responsibilities, including stewardship, and are prepared to handle them. And qualification must be completed each year. And as you see, one of the requirements for district qualification is that we conduct grant management seminars for clubs. So clubs that want to apply for both district grants and global grants and want to participate in either one must also be qualified. Districts are responsible for qualifying their clubs each year. For your club to qualify, your president and president-elect for the year the grant is initiated need to agree to implement the club qualification Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, and the District 5000 addendum to the MOU, which allows for all of our district grants initiated by the club that year to go into one separate district grant bank account instead of having to have a bank account for each district grant. You must complete the club financial management plan. You have to submit proof of tax filing. You need to send at least 2 club members to a grant management seminar held by the district, which is usually in the fall on each island. We are also going to work on an online version. We just have to get the testing requirements so that we will feel confident that you have actually reviewed the material and understand the process. So all of these requirements and the forms to be completed for qualification are on rotaryd5000.org under the Foundation tab. They have also been handed out to all of the presidents-elect, so feel free to go back to your club and encourage your president-elect to fill them out and return them to me. Each club must qualify each year to apply for either district or global grants. So what do we ask of you? We ask you to take action. Complete your club qualification. Complete your final reports on your current district grants. Does everyone understand why that's so important? Again, remember that for a district grant, it is one grant. And so every 113 projects is a different line on one district grant. And until all 113 lines are reported and verified and entered on the grant form, we can't submit it to Rotary International for verification and acceptance. And until the current year district grant is approved and finalized and signed off on by Rotary International, we cannot get any funds for the new grant year. So these 2 steps are absolutely critical to get done between now and July 1st. You should also be talking with your president-elect and incoming board about possible projects, both local and international. Discuss the funding that's required and how you can obtain it. Be ready to submit your district grant application on July 1st and have it, they all have to be submitted by August 1st. And then ensure that 2 members from your club attend the fall grant management seminar so that you're ready for the next year. The amount available for match and no match district grants and the match portion for the global grants is on a spreadsheet on the District 5000 website under the Rotary Foundation tab. So look at this and see if you have any other ideas for ways you can take action now to support your district grants. For your global grants, the best thing to do is talk with your District Rotary Foundation Grant Committee Chair, that's Mark Harbison, or the Global Grant Chair, that's James Ham, about a project that you're thinking of starting. Work with your District International Service Committee Chair, that's Murray Visser. He has a great committee together. They're all experienced in global grants. You can also talk to your District Rotary Foundation Committee Chair, and we can work on improving the quality, impact, and sustainability of your global grant projects. And most importantly, choose a mentor to help you. We ask everyone who is going to initiate a new global grant, please read the guide to global grants. Review the community assessment tools. You can start with the global grant template at myrotary.org and fill it in so you can see what's going to be required for your new grant. However, do not submit your global grant application until July 1st. It messes up the dating and it messes up the numbering and it makes Mark Harbison crazy, which is kind of a fun thing. But please take advantage of all of the talent we have in these 2 committees to think about starting your own international service project with a global grant. We had 2 new ones this year. The Rotary Club of Honolulu Bay did a girls' school project, and Honolulu Sunset Samir did a water project. Brand new people for global grants, and they did a fantastic job. As a matter of fact, those 2 grants were the first 2 this year that were approved by the Rotary Foundation. Way to go, guys. Resources, this will be up on the D5000 website so that you can reference it at any time you need to. You can call any or all of us at any time. We are here to help you accomplish your grants. These resources are listed on rotaryd5000.org under the Rotary Foundation tab, and maybe also under the International Services tab. Please utilize them to make our district and global grant process flow smoothly. Why? Because of the people who need us. Remember, we're doing good in the world and changing lives every single day. We're now going to open it up and unmute people so that we can have questions or any questions that came in through chat. Naomi?
Everyone is unmuted.
Sorry. Does anyone have a question? Identify yourself and ask a question. Does anyone have feedback or suggestions for other topics that need to be included in grants.
Hi, this is Carol Riley. I did have a question, Laura, but I think you answered it. My question was, when was the application going to be online? So it's there now?
The application, Mark Harbison, are you on the call? If not, I will get hold of
Laura?
Mark. Yes. Yes,
The
Naomi.
grant application does not have a date, so the template is on the website.
So the grant application is on Rotary D5000. We finally got smart and removed the date from it so it doesn't go stale. It is the same every year.
Oh, good. It's the same one. Okay, because I saw last year's, but I didn't know if it was the same.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll change.
I'm on this webinar.
Oh, sorry.
The
That's
grant.
someone. Okay. And the same thing, we will put up I believe the grant qualifications are up there for next year, except for the final report should still be this year's final report. Again, we're trying to take the dates off of everything so that they do not change appreciably from year to year. Other than that, our audit committee this year found a couple of inconsistencies, which we did correct.
Gloria, who does the final report?
Okay. If Gloria is not on there, anyone in the club can complete the final report. It's best if it's done by the person who did the grant application. Because if you notice, the final report is basically a mirror image of the grant application. So those things you said that you would do and the people that you would impact, then what the final report asks is, what did you do and who did you impact? And how did you advertise it? So if you filled out, the person who filled out the application can easily fill out the final report. But if that person isn't available, anyone with access to the application, and Gloria has copies of all of your applications, can easily do the final report.
Laura, I have a question. I'm from Kapolei Sunset.
Hi.
And if money was spent for the grant before it got all approved but wasn't reimbursed by the club, if they waited to turn in receipts until we got approved and we had those funds deposited, is there anything we need to do?
Pray that you don't get audited. Oh, sorry. Yeah, actually, Lonnie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be flip about it, but what you did is absolutely not allowed, all right? You cannot, so you can't go out and buy all of your, you can't go out and buy school supplies, for instance, and give them to the school. And then when your grant money comes in, reimburse the person who bought the school supplies. That is not allowed. You have to have your grant approved, and it's not approved until the whole grant is approved by the Rotary Foundation. And you have to have your funds in hand from your assistant governor in your account before you do your project. So that's why we usually say that doing school supplies in August is not an idea, because you're not going to get your grant money until the middle of September at the best. We're going to try for the 1st of September, but September at the best.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was not a grant person.
So,
I was not a president. And so our leadership at the time, who is no longer in our club, told someone to go ahead and buy supplies. They weren't dispersed. They weren't dispersed. It was supplies for painting and cleaning and setting up a children's area at a home.
If they weren't dispersed, then go ahead and just put that on your explanation on your invoices that are before you received your funds. Right. So just put a little note that while the supplies were purchased, they were not utilized until after we received our funds.
Okay. And in the instance of paint, I'm not even sure if they painted before or after the grant got approved. So if they did paint before the date, let's say it was September 25th, we got our funds. Let's say they painted on September 23rd, 2 days before. What are we dealing with?
2 days are probably not going to be the end of the world on that. But, you know, it's the principle of the thing that we don't want to get into people going out buying things and then much later getting reimbursed when grant funds come in. So, you know, we're being a little bit, the audit team is tightening up more and more every year. But as long as you have an explanation for everything, I mean, you know what, we're not gonna slap you or anything.
And again, I'm cleaning up someone else's mess here. It's not my mess.
Eventually,
someone else's.
and the reason it's important is eventually we will get to it. It's that stewardship, right? The reason that the Rotary Foundation has that 5-star Charity Navigator rating is because they are good stewards of the money that they get. And because this money has come to the district has to be good stewards of the money, which means we follow the guidelines and rules that are set up by the Rotary Foundation. So we understand it's a learning process, but that's why we're trying to have more informational webinars and other activities to get more than just the one person or two people who think you saw my air quotes, think they have to come to them educated, because frequently the person who is making these erroneous decisions is not anybody who thought that they needed to come to a seminar. Okay.
Hey, Laura, it's Randy. I have a quick question. Will they do foundation training at the spring training district assembly?
Yes, they
Good.
will. We will. I will. I'm sorry. I just found out I will. Yes. So this is a great question. This is a great time to ask this. I'll do a little poll. We're not recording anymore, are we? Are we still recording? Sorry. Anyway,
I can unrecord. We are recording.
Okay.
Okay, you want me to unrecord?
Well, I'm just wanted to ask the question because the spring trainings are coming up. What would you like to see for Rotary information at the spring trainings?
Well, personally, I just think it's important to because I don't see a lot of PEs on the webinar, and I know mine over here on this side have a lot of questions about, you know, how global grants and district grants work, and you know, the spreadsheet. I'm fairly familiar with it and stuff, but I know the PEs probably aren't as familiar with it. So I think the more the better on the training, you know, to drive it home, because in you know, March, April, the PEs are getting ready and they need to have their applications ready by 1 July. That's why I just, I asked the question, because I think it's important that it's covered during the District 5000 spring district assemblies.
When Eric and I were talking about it this weekend, we kind of came down to the fact that, and based on what was received best last year, was the hands-on, this is the amount of district funds you're going to have, and this is how you have them. So that spreadsheet. And then here is an application, and we go through and hands-on fill it out based on a scenario of providing $1,000 scholarship to somebody or something like that.
Gloria,
just one more question, and then I will sit back and listen. On the global grants, I think it's, well, I know I've had a couple of cases over here where the presidents didn't quite understand how the carryover works. If that global grant's not executed in their year, they kind of obligated the club to do that the following year into the president-elect's year. So that part gets a little bit complicated for some of the folks to understand.
And that your clubs are not alone. That has come up a lot this year, and that's why I mentioned the fact that you have to, once you make that commitment, somewhere within your club financial reporting, you need to say, we have committed $1,000 to global grant number so-and-so. Every grant has a number on it by the time you're committing funds to it. So at the time that the president makes or the board makes the determination that we're going to support the girls' school for $1,000, then you take that global grant number, and within your financial your books, you need to show that you have a liability of that $1,000 to go to that global grant. I know it's just the same way when we do fundraising and the funds are raised for a specific, so say this was raised for Palolo School, and it can only go to Palolo School. It's reflected as a liability due to Palolo School projects. So you can do something like that. This is why, like Rich for his vocational training team, did actually ask the clubs to go ahead and send the money to the Rotary D5000 Foundation, and it sat there waiting for the approval from the Rotary Foundation. That's only a little bit problematic because there's a slight chance that the grant will not get approved, and then all the money's got to be returned, and that's a pain in the Ocoli for the foundation.
Excellent. Thanks, Laura.
Okay.
Laura, do we have a date yet for spring training for Oahu?
Spring training for Oahu is, I just wrote that down, May the 25th. Saturday, May the 25th. It is the Saturday after the district conference.
And where's it going to be?
Do you have a spot yet, Naomi?
Sandy?
Sandy on there?
She is. Okay, that's a TBD.
TBD.
But
Okay.
Mary Albert is asking if you can explain the spreadsheet. Do you want me to get the spreadsheet up on the screen?
Sure. I love Naomi.
Laura, I'm going to sign off. I just wanted to
Okay.
say thanks for everything. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. The famous spreadsheet here. Right. Everybody can see it.
Hi, Laura. Sorry, this is Sandy. It took me a while to unmute. We have not finalized the location of the Oahu one.
Okay. As soon as it is, trust me, everybody, all the assistant governors will let all of the presidents and all of the Rotarians know so that we can get as many people as possible there. And
okay, well, thanks for the date.
Yeah, okay. And then, so this spreadsheet, for those of you who have already seen it, the left-hand columns are the 3 years that clubs made contributions through share to the Rotary Foundation. So if you take, let's take Diamond Head. I love them as an example. So in 14-15, they contributed $100, and in 15-16 they boosted it up to $660, and in 16-70 to $2,030. So that their average giving for 3 years is $930. And that's calculated then as a percentage of the total contributions for that year overall, okay? And then that percentage, once we have our total district designated funds, which again is based on the total giving for the district, okay? That percentage of the club giving is then multiplied by the total to get the total amount of DDF that they're going to get. So that 2.249% of the total amount comes out to be $558.70. Now, of that, 50% of it, in this case, 50% of it is for district grants and 50% of it is for global grants. So that on the district grants, we kept 20% of the district grant funds as no match. All you have to do is ask for them. So if Diamond Head has $0 in their coffers and say, I can't participate in a grant in any way, shape, or form, instead we say, no, you have $112 that all you have to do is ask for, and you can go buy some books, or you can go, you know, purchase paint. You can do whatever you can do to have a small project. Okay. And then if they do have some money, they have another 30% or $168 that if they can come up with $168, then the district will give them $336 total, plus their $112, so that they'll have $408 or whatever it was. Right, I lost track, sorry. I took them so it'd be easier, but they weren't easier, okay? And then, so that's all for district grants. Those three columns are your district grant amount, which is the $39.80, the $279.35 is half of the $558.70. Okay. And let me get rid of this. Okay. And then for global grants, which also have to be matched, but if they wanted to join in the girls' school project and say, I have $279 of DDF that I will be happy to match and give you $560 for your project, then John from Honolulu Bay will say, hooray, I love you. Because what's going to happen is that $560 is then going to be matched again by the Rotary Foundation, right? So that their numbers will quadruple basically from what they're giving to what 3.5 times. Okay. So even though your numbers may look small, you can have an impact for both district grants and global grants. But most importantly, and the reason we keep bringing out this rather complicated looking spreadsheet is that the way you get money is to give money to the Rotary Foundation and make sure everybody marks share.
Laura, this is Lonnie again. Can I clarify? So
Sure.
If you assign your global grant money to somebody in our district who is doing a global grant, your club has to match that amount?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're mentioning it now, and the new spreadsheet, if it's not for 1920, is available. And I don't know if I asked Mark to put it up or not, but if not, it will be up there. I think it's actually on the International Service page already. Look at that amount, okay, and have a fundraiser, okay? Do something now to raise funds so that you're ready to match whatever you need to say, okay, I want to participate in this project and I can do it. For a global grant, actually you can go ahead and make the commitment and then have the fundraiser, because these global grants are not going to be asking for funding until probably the first part of 2020. And maybe even in 2021. It takes that long for some of them to get approved finally. I don't know what we're looking at here, sorry.
And then Laura, back to me again. I'm so sorry. This is
That's
Lonnie
all right,
again.
Lonnie. That's what it's for.
back to my original question, if the money that was spent, or like the receipts that were turned in before we actually got approved and got the grant, was actually under the amount of what we were going to match anyway, say we were supposed to match $500 and we didn't spend more than $500, does that make it better for the audit as well?
No.
Okay.
You want to spend what you said you were going to spend.
I agree for the total project. Let's say that let's say the total say the total project was going to be $1,500,
okay,
and our match from our club had to be $500. Say our receipts that were collected before we actually got approved.
Because you had $500 of district designated funds?
No, because we had 500 of our own funds that we were going to match with the district funds.
How much did you have in district designated funds?
In designated funds?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have it in front of me. I know that we had $634 that we had to match with the district. Okay. And district was going to give us the $634 to match that. And then I don't know what the unmatched amount was.
All right. Okay.
But say our
this project was only going to use 500 of that.
No, we're going to use it all. But I'm talking about the money spent, the receipts collected before the grant actually got approved was less than that amount that we had to match.
But it doesn't matter. We're going to just do an explanation on it and hope that the Rotary Foundation doesn't choose to audit your club.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? I think our time is up. So I thank you all very, very much for your participation. Please do email me with any suggestions or recommendations or anything that you think people would like to hear. We are also always available, the entire foundation team, to come out and speak to your clubs. So thank you. Have a good day. Keep doing good in the world. Thank you.